Hey friends, Elizabeth here from Plant-Based Bride, back again with another video. And today I have a really exciting plan with me for all of you in my husband's bullet journal for July. I saw a page from a vintage book that had been scanned and uploaded to the internet at some point, and I searched high and low and could not find for the life of me where this page from a book had come from. But the image on it, the writing, everything about it was so incredible, so perfect, and I knew my husband would love it. So for this July setup in my husband's bullet journal, I'm doing my best to recreate that page from that vintage book here and tying it all together to get a very vintagey, moon-focused theme. So I hope y'all like this. I'm super excited about it. And without further ado, let's just get started. The first thing I'm doing is grabbing some craft paper and applying it to the pages. So I decided it would be nice to have the first two pages, so the cover page and the calendar, be fully craft paper. And then for the next spread, which is the beginning of my husband's notes pages, I wanted to have a bit of a ripped transition from the craft paper to the regular white dotted paper of the notebook, because he is going to prefer to use the white dot grid paper for his notes day to day. But I wanted there to be a bit more of an organic transition than just having the first two pages be craft paper and then just suddenly switching to the white dot grid. So this is how I decided to go about it. If you're gluing paper in across a 2-page spread, I will always recommend folding it in half first and lining that fold up with the spot where the pages connect at the binding. This is going to make it way easier to get a nice fit, not have the pages pulling too much or wrinkling too much. It makes it a lot easier to actually turn the pages when you already have that folded crease. Once I have my craft paper glued in, I'm going to get started on the cover page because there is quite a bit of shading to do here. So the layout of this image is exactly as it appeared in that vintage book, except that instead of having the text of the book underneath the image, I'm adding the July header. I'm keeping the caption of the image that was just above it that said "The Earth as if seen from the moon." And then in the center of this rectangle that I've drawn, I'm going to try to recreate that amazing vintage image. For the drawing, I'm using Sakura microns in different sizes. I started with a slightly finer nib. I believe that this was the 02 or the 03 nib. And then later on, when I have a larger area to fill in, I'm moving up to larger nib sizes to be able to fill in the space a little more quickly. While I work on this image, because it does take me quite a while to finish, I wanted to start on today's video's facts because the moon is absolutely fascinating and I could probably share moon facts for hours. I thought it would be fun to not only share some actual moon facts, but also to talk a little bit about some myths about the moon that existed in the past, because there are so many myths and misconceptions surrounding the moon. Let's touch on the myths from a few cultures around the world. In Serbia, there is a folktale about a wolf chasing a fox, and this folktale contains the oldest explanation for why we say the moon is made of cheese. The fox convinces the wolf that a better snack, a block of cheese, lies at the bottom of a pond. The wolf, not realizing it's just the moon's reflection, drinks and drinks from the pond, eventually bursting. In Maori myth, the moon, Marama, is male, with a wife and 2 daughters. The Maori people also believe that the moon is the husband of all women, given how he affects a woman's reproductive cycle every month. The Algonquin people, indigenous to North America, have names for the moon for every month of the year, including the wolf moon in January, the pink moon in April, and the harvest moon in September. Aningan is the name of the moon god of some of the Inuit people that live in Greenland. Aningan continually chases his sister, Melina, the sun goddess, across the sky. During this chase, he forgets to eat, and he gets much thinner. This is to explain the phases of the moon, particularly the crescent moon. To satisfy his hunger, he disappears for 3 days each month, the new moon, and then returns full to chase his sister all over again. Check out the references and links in the description box for more myths about the moon from around the world. I wish I could share all of the amazing myths that I found, but again, we'd be here for hours. I didn't just want to talk about myths from different cultures around the world surrounding the moon, but I also wanted to touch on a couple misconceptions or conspiracy theories because these are pretty interesting, in my opinion. For thousands of years, doctors and mental health professionals believed in a strong connection between mania and the moon. In fact, the words lunacy and lunatic come from the Roman goddess of the moon, Luna, who is said to ride her silver chariot across the dark sky each night. In 18th century England, people on trial for murder could campaign for a lighter sentence on grounds of lunacy if the crime occurred under a full moon. In the 1820s, a Bavarian astronomer, Franz von Paula Grüthason, claimed to have glimpsed entire cities on the moon with his telescope. He wrote that the Lunarians who lived there had built sophisticated buildings, roads, and forts. Most of his colleagues did not believe him nor agree with his conclusions, but he did eventually get a small lunar crater named after him. In the 1950s, the Czech doctor Eugene Jonas stumbled across an ancient Assyrian astrological text stating that women are fertile during certain phases of the moon. He based an entire family planning method on this hypothesis, telling his patients that they ovulated when the moon was in the same position as when they were born. And our last misconception or conspiracy theory regarding the moon is the faked moon landing. Despite all of the evidence to the contrary, there are some people who still believe that the Apollo moon landings were faked by NASA, claiming that they used doctored photos, staged videos, and other techniques to dupe the public. Those who believe in this theory argue that technology wasn't advanced enough for astronauts to reach the moon and return home safely at the time. They also point to what they say are signs of studio trickery, including the fact that the American flag planted by the Apollo 11 in the lunar surface appeared to flutter in the vacuum of space, where there's no wind. And now let's share some facts about the moon that are based in science. The moon always shows the Earth the same face. What we see of the moon from Earth is always the same side, because the moon is in synchronous rotation with the Earth. Its near side, the only side that we ever see from Earth, is marked by large dark plains of volcanic maria that fill the spaces between the bright ancient crustal highlands and the prominent impact craters. Another fact is that the moon is actually drifting away from Earth by about 3.8 centimeters each year. Now, you probably know that the moon is partially responsible for causing the tides of the oceans and seas on Earth, with the sun also having an effect. However, you may not know that as the moon orbits the Earth, it also causes a tide of rock to rise and fall in the same way as it does with water. The effect isn't as dramatic as it is with the oceans, but it is still a measurable effect, with the solid surface of Earth moving by several centimeters with each tide. And our last moon fact for today is that there is actually water on the moon in the form of ice trapped within dust and minerals on and under the surface. This ice has been detected on parts of the lunar surface that are in permanent shadow and are therefore very cold, which enables the ice to survive. It's believed by scientists that the water on the moon was likely delivered to the surface by comets. So those are all my myths, misconceptions, conspiracy theories, and facts about the moon for today's video. I hope you enjoyed them. Let me know down below if any that I shared were new to you or which one you found most interesting. I would also love to hear more. If you know myths about the moon from your own region or culture, if you have other fun facts to share or misconceptions, leave them down in the comments below. I would love to hear more. If you don't have much to say today, leave a moon emoji down there so that I know that you enjoyed all our moon facts today. I know I enjoyed doing the research for this video. So now back to what I'm drawing. As you can see, I am finally coming to the end of this cover page. Filling in the sky took what felt like a century. But I think it was worth it. I added a tiny bit of my own artistic flair by having a few little indications of galaxies, and I indicated the stars in a slightly different way just to make it more interesting for myself as I filled in the sky for what felt like hours at a time. But other than that, I tried to be as truthful to the original image as I could be, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. On the opposite page, I'm creating the calendar, and I'm just keeping it super simple since the cover page took me so long to make. So I'm just creating the very simple calendar adding the header at the top, and then an initial letter for each day of the week. And that's it. I really love the simple black lettering and lines on the craft paper. It just has such a timeless quality to it. And because this side of the spread is so simple, it really highlights the quality of the paper and all of the natural texture and variation that exists there. This is just turning into an appreciation monologue about craft paper and how much I adore it. So you're welcome for that, I guess. Once I have my calendar finished, I'm flipping over to the next spread, which is going to be, as I mentioned, the start of my husband's notes pages. So as always, I'm just doing a little notes header to get those started and adding an artistic element. So for this one, I thought it would be fun to do a little drawing of 4 phases of the moon to tie in again with that cover page. I liked that the cover page was looking at Earth from the surface of the moon. And then for the notes pages, we're looking at the moon through different phases as we would see it from Earth. I based these drawings off of several photographs and illustrations of moon phases and did my best to do them justice. I also added the notes header in the same simple serif font as the other headers throughout the setup. Of course, I'm using my ruler and my circle template to get the lettering as clean and crisp as I can. If you're interested in learning how I use my ruler and circle template to create fonts like this, I'll link the video I made on just that in the description box and in the cards, so you can check that out. I go through my whole approach and process for using those tools for font creation. And now on to the moon cycles. Because I learned my lesson from the cover page and how long it took to fill in the sky, I decided to start by creating an outline with my Secura Micron and then fill in the larger dark areas with my black acrylograph because it's just a million times faster. Once I had those dark areas filled in and I gave the acrylograph a second to dry, I went back in with my Secura Micron to create the moon texture. And because, as we mentioned in the facts, we always see the same side of the moon, I really wanted to do my best to create the exact same identical markings on each phase of the moon. Obviously, because of the different phases, different portions of the moon are visible, but I really tried very hard to fill them in exactly the same way. And obviously I didn't succeed perfectly on that front, but I am proud of how it turned out. I think I did a pretty good job of making it look like it is in fact the same side of the moon in each phase. And that's the end of this setup. So I'll do a quick little flip through for you, the cover page and the calendar, and then the start of the notes pages. I love how this turned out. It is quite simple, even though the artistic portions took quite a while to fill in. I'm always a huge fan of artwork that only uses a black pen, and I love the added element of the craft background in this case. Again, adding that natural texture to the spreads and also that vintage feeling that was really what I was going for here. And my husband was very happy with this setup. This is one that I chose on my own and surprised him with, whereas other months, like last month, he picked the theme and kind of told me what he wanted, and I brought it to fruition. This month, he had no idea what I was creating for him, and I just went to town and then surprised him. And I feel like these months when I surprise him are always my favorite, just because I get to see his face light up with recognition and then usually excitement when he sees what I came up with for him. I want to take a moment to thank my patrons for their support. Extra special thanks to our newest patrons, Robin, Estefania, and Nicole. Welcome all of you to the squad. We are so excited to have you. If you at home want to join the squad, feel free. There's a link in the card and in the description box down below. And with that, I'm going to get going. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you really soon in my next one. Bye, friends. Just a little reminder that the last video I posted was my new bullet journal setup for my own bullet journal for the second half of 2021, my mid-year migration, as it were, and it's also a sneak peek for one of the notebooks I designed for my upcoming Archer and Olive collab. So definitely check out that video if you haven't seen it yet, and consider checking out my Instagram and following me there if you haven't already, because as of the time this video is going up, there will already be some sneak peeks going up on Instagram of my collab, and in a few days my collab will be launching, and Instagram is really the best place to stay up to date on news in that area, and I'm very, 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 very excited to share my creations with all of you. So, yeah. Okay, bye.